So, you're a recent college graduate with an interest in psychology and a counseling career. My guest today is Victoria Alursha, a licensed professional counselor, or LPC. She's been an LPC since 2012. Welcome to the Young Professionals Career Catalyst, Victoria. How are
Thank
you
you so
today?
much. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. So, before we talk about your profession as a counselor, let's talk about your career path. What did you envision doing when you were a young child? Did you have like a dream career or job that you thought about?
I was pretty much aligned with counseling the whole time. I feel like in my family dynamic, I was the individual who was the helper and the people pleaser and the one who was always trying to figure things out. And in school as well with my friends, I felt like everyone was coming to me, if they had issues with their boyfriends and things like that. So I think that really led me into that path. In college, in undergrad, I was a double major for elementary education as well as counseling. I wanted to be a guidance counselor at that time. So I didn't steer too far away from the field. I ended up then switching, I think, my junior year to directly then just counseling. And then I made my elementary education a minor. And then that's when
Okay.
I decided I wanted to go to graduate school and end up working towards my LPC. So pretty much aligned the whole way through.
Okay, that's interesting. Have you had family members that were in counseling, or what made you become interested in that profession?
Actually, I don't recall anyone ever really talking about mental health or counseling growing up. It's just something that I felt led to do. I just had so much interest in helping other people. And if I'm digging deeper, it did probably give me a sense of worth and purpose, just being able to be that person to help other people get through difficult moments in their life.
Okay. And do you need an advanced degree or a certification to become an LPC? Tell us a little bit about that.
So you do have to start off with your bachelor's, which is typically a 4-year degree. Your master's, then after that, can be 2 years. I believe I got mine done in 3 years. And then with my LPC, that for me, it was another 3 years of supervision to get my LPC. What I'm understanding now is things are kind of switching a little bit. I have a colleague who's going for her LPC now, and she's telling me that there's something about an associate's licensure. I don't fully know what
Mhm.
the process is now. It's changing a little bit, but for me,
Okay.
that's the time frame of how it played out.
Okay. I wonder if it's changing because there's a need for more counselors out there.
I would assume
Um,
so.
right, right. Especially since COVID and everything that happened with that. I understand there's a
Absolutely.
lot more like mental health issues
Yes.
nowadays. So, what would you say are the top skills you need to become an LPC?
In terms of education or just like characteristics that you should have.
Characteristics.
Yeah.
More characteristics.
I think probably the ones that are, I want to say, the most common sense, just being a good listener. I think it's a combination of figuring out when's the best time to speak, what it is that you want to share that really aligns with the individual, and also just being a really good listener. I think that over the years of being a therapist, I've really learned to appreciate silence, and that was something that I think is typically difficult for new counselors, is that you feel like you have to be talking every moment of the session. I really embrace that silence now to just say, okay, to my client, let's just take a breath, loosen everything up, roll your shoulders, let's just be present, and then we can get back to talking. Of course, being compassionate, right, understanding. One of the things that I pride myself in is being able to offer an environment that feels judgment free. Just come as you are. We'll work with wherever you're at, and we'll just kind of take small steps to where you need to be. I think just being resourceful, it's you have to be able to reach out for help. I think that's one of the things that have made me into the therapist that I am today. Is I can't have the mindset of I have all the answers all the time. This is
Mhm.
also a field that's constantly growing, which is why we're required to have the 30 CEUs every year to continue our education, because there's always some new method that we can use. And I think that's a beautiful thing about the mental health field, is that there's always new approaches that we can try. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy. Is it's a different method for every client. Everyone's coming in. Even if two people come in with depression, you're not going to be
Mhm.
using the exact same skills with both of those individuals.
Okay, that's interesting. So explain what types of services that you and other counselors provide.
So typically, I would say it's just one-on-one therapy. There's been moments where I've offered family counseling. There's been moments where I've offered couples counseling. And then group counseling is also something that I really enjoy. There's just something really lovely about the group dynamic as opposed to just one-on-one. Um, and then do you want to know like what specifically is done in sessions?
Yeah, I mean, you can go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so again, it's not a one size fits all, So there's, talk therapy is typically the method that most therapists use. Now I'm starting to
Mhm.
get into being open to other methods, like potentially including meditation or journaling, also considering sessions in nature just to kind of change the environment as opposed to indoor, in office traditional sessions. I
Mhm.
also have been including some spirituality in some of my sessions if that's something that's aligned with my client. So, and some individuals will come in and say, "This is specifically what I'm looking for." And that's really helpful too if someone comes in and they already know, I would like cognitive behavioral therapy. I want it to be all about just focusing on my mindset, where, with other therapists they might offer some other specialties that they're certified in.
Okay, all right then. So, what would you say is the most rewarding part of working as a counselor?
For me, it's just knowing that I'm able to be that individual who offers a listening ear, someone who's understanding. I really appreciate and embrace just being able to be vulnerable with my clients and just telling them that I'm proud of them. And you're putting the hard work in. When a client comes to me and says, "Thank you, Vicky, so much for everything you've done for helping me," I put it back on them and I say, you should thank yourself for all the hard work that you're putting in therapy, because there's people who go to therapy for years and don't necessarily make the impactful change that needs to be done for various reasons. I mean, sometimes there's
Mhm.
barriers that are really difficult to work through. So that's understandable as well. But I tell my clients that it's not just about what we talk about or we work on for the 45 minutes to 60 minutes. It's about what you choose to do once you walk out my door. So all
True.
these skills and all these steps and goals that we set, it's about you putting the hard work in when you leave. And I really appreciate when clients really put the hard work in and they're proud of themselves just as I'm proud of them.
Right, right. Okay. So, your resume indicates you're working towards something called ecotherapy.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So, over this past year, I knew that I wanted to shift something in my practice, and I didn't quite know what I wanted that to be, but I really wanted it to align with who I am as an individual and what's also been helpful for my own personal healing journey. And that one aspect has been being able to connect with nature. So when I think of a place that's the most peaceful for me when I'm having a rough day, it's going for a walk, it's being out in the sunshine, it's just being in nature by running water, things like that. And so that's really what ecotherapy is being able to incorporate nature within the session, as opposed to that traditional, again, in office setting.
Okay, that's interesting. And so, you also have a podcast. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about that.
So the name of the podcast is Community Connection of the Lehigh Valley. I'd started it with my co-host Mark Kenny, who was one of my professors in Chestnut Hill College for graduate school. And we had started it prior to COVID, just wanting to find a way to still connect with the community, because at that point, most of us were in isolation, and this was a way that we could
Right.
still connect with other people. It was
Mhm.
definitely mental health based, so with every episode, we reminded viewers to just, reach out if you need help. There's nothing to be ashamed about. We all struggle with things, and just found individuals throughout our own paths that we thought would be helpful to connect our community with.
Okay. All right then. And I saw that you were involved in a mentorship program with Chestnut Hill College.
Yes.
What's that all about?
I really love the whole concept of giving back. And for me, I mean, I can still remember being a college student and just not knowing exactly what steps to take. And for me, one of the things that I really enjoyed was having professors that were adjunct professors that could speak from their experience of being an actual therapist and having their own business, as well as just other connections along the way. And so with the mentorship program, I'm able to be there available for current students in the program, and they can
Mhm.
just call and pick my brain and ask whatever questions about the field if they're struggling with something or need some guidance. Also, I've had a handful of students reach out to me for like assignments that they're doing, that they need to interview someone who's actually working in the field, and that's really something that I thrive off of. I really, really enjoy just being able to go to those students and share my excitement with them and really encourage them to take certain steps along the way in their own career.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I love the concept. I think that's so helpful for those students for sure.
absolutely.
Was that program available when you were in school, or is that something that's newer?
That is a really great question, because I don't recall it being available. I've
Mhm.
been part of it for a few years now, and I really enjoy it. I
Mhm.
actually would encourage students to take more advantage of that. I'm so eager, and I'm assuming other therapists are really eager to be in that position as well. And I've only been in contact with a few students. I'm really eager to like tell more, but they only seem to need me for like a small period of time, and then which is great. Like if that's what works for them, I think it's more so my end where I just want to be able to offer more and mentor more. But I'm there for what they need, and then they
Right.
go about, and then I'm available for the next student. But yeah, I don't remember that being an option. It might have been. I just don't
Mhm.
recall.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that program really has so much potential to help a student succeed, to stick with it during the tough times. So I love that concept. I think that's wonderful that they provide that. So, what do you think about or hope to be doing professionally a few years from now, 5 years from now?
That is such a great question. And I've been thinking a lot about that as well, because I don't necessarily have a specific plan. I prefer to just be open-minded. So whatever opportunities present themselves, I'm open for it, whatever that might be. I have my business. I also work part of a private practice, which is really lovely because that provides the connection. For me, one of the, I don't want to say downfalls to private practices, for me, I like to connect with other people. And in my office, it's just me. So I
Mhm.
don't have colleagues. And so for me, I like being part of a private practice as well, because it gives me that connection, whether it's to talk about cases or we offer workshops together for the community or whatever it might be. But I like being able to walk into the office and have someone else to speak with. So it might be a combination, my practice, private practice, workshops with the ecotherapy. More, maybe it's going to be more outdoor based and whatever connections that offers. Also, spirituality is a component that I'm very interested in with my own healing journey, as well as with some of my clients expressing their interest through that as well. So I'm really just open. I'm open to whatever doors open, whatever opportunities are out there. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it is, yes, we're a licensed therapist and there's like the traditional path that we take. One of
Mhm.
the best pieces of advice that was given to me throughout my college career was my professors two things: to seek our own therapy, because we need to make sure that we're as healthy as we can be if we're going to provide therapy for others. Really, really stress the importance of that. And the other guidance that they gave is, don't just stay in your office, find other things to do. So for me, it was the podcast, it was writing books, it's volunteering, it's the group practice, it's the mentor, it's like all those other aspects outside of, I don't want to say just being a therapist, because that's huge, but I
Mhm.
think that that's something that's really important for young individuals going into the field to be open to, like, what else can I do outside of just traditional therapy? Because there are a lot of opportunities out there that I think can be very exciting.
Mhm. So when you've mentioned spirituality a couple times, what modalities are you incorporating, or Reiki, or what specifically are you using from a spiritual realm?
So I had attended a faith-based trauma healing group a couple years back, and that's probably what set it off for me, is just whether, and I know everyone has different terminology, whether it's God or the universe or whatever that bigger entity is, to bring that into session. And that's something that typically I would say therapists don't do unless if they went down the pastoral counseling path and got that
Right.
specific certification, which, and there's multiple paths. For me, if an individual comes in and expresses that spirituality is part of their life, I go for, tell me more about that. What does that look like?
Mhm.
What does that feel like? And then I kind of go off of what they're open to, so if it's bringing scripture into session, we'll do that. If it's bringing prayer into session, then we'll do that. We're just talking about how faith is a part of healing. For a lot of people, that faith is really a huge part of working through some of the struggles in life. And I'm glad that I can be in a place where I'm open to that, if that
Mhm.
does align with where they're at. As far as like Reiki and other holistic approaches, I'm not certified in any of that, but I do
Okay.
believe in all those approaches. And I have my contacts in the community. And going back to resources and connections, I have a board in my office. So if an individual seems to be open to those suggestions, I'll refer them out. I'll pass them along. Hey, I know this woman who offers these services. Give her a call, just touch
Mhm.
base and see if it's something that might be aligned with you. And I think, it's not just about us as one therapist, but it's that whole circle of therapists, because we all have different strengths. And I think it's really important for us to work as a team, as opposed to therapists like not working against each other, but
Right.
I can offer something that you can't, you can offer something that I can't. And I try to be very open with my clients from the beginning. If I don't seem like the right fit for you, if I'm not providing what you need, please just be open and honest with me. And I've actually helped to refer clients out to other therapists because I wasn't the right fit. Again,
Mhm.
as a younger therapist starting out, I would have viewed that very differently. Like, I probably would have taken it personally,
Right.
and really gotten stuck in that. Where now, as a seasoned therapist, I can define myself as, I'm very open. It's not about the therapist, it's about the client and what's the best fit for them.
Right. That's a good point. Not every client is well suited for every counselor or career coach or what have you. So, tell us about the books that you've written. You've written three, right?
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about those.
I've realized over the years that writing is definitely one of my healing paths that I take, and that's where my books kind of stemmed from. So my first book, I Am Loving the Me That I'm Choosing to Be, is a journal type of book. And I had written that, I think it was at the beginning of COVID, not prior to COVID, the beginning of COVID, because it was just a crazy time for a lot of people. The unknown, right? It's
Yeah.
scary. And I was noticing just struggles within my own family, and then school looked so different for my children. And so this book was just a way of, let's just try to be positive, is really what it comes down to. Let's be aware of what we're thinking, and as a family, we struggle together, but we can also heal together. And so it was
Mhm.
a lot of just focusing on positivity and love and kindness, and how can we promote that to other, as well as believing it within ourselves. I really enjoyed having the opportunity to present that to schools. I even virtually during COVID, again, virtual with some of the elementary schools locally, Girl Scout troops, with the local libraries. And again, this was all during COVID. To just present this opportunity to young children of like, let's focus on what's good around us, the kindness around us. And that was really good for my soul to be able to do that. My second book, Our Rose Colored Glasses, that was prompted when I had went through divorce. And so again, like another huge moment in my life, exploring family dynamics, just encouraging others to make a change, to be the cycle breaker, to do things differently. And again, for me, it was hopefully portrayed in a very loving and kind way that divorce is not necessarily a bad thing, where I think there's still sometimes a lot of stigma and judgment and criticism around someone making that choice. And so again, from a therapist perspective as well as a personal perspective, I wanted to offer different viewpoints of how to navigate something that can be so challenging. My third book, is about our dog Skeeter. Skeeter saves the day. He had passed away about a year ago, and this was a book that I was able to write with my two younger children, where they did the illustrations of our dog. And again, it's for family, it's for children. A lot of people love pets; they're a huge part of their family, and so again, this was just a way of showing our vulnerability. We talked about grief, something that happens for all of us, and here's some healthy ways to grieve together and just help each other out. And so that's been really lovely as well, because I was connecting with my children, and also us just being able to heal together, and then give it back to the community. I think there's something so beautiful in taking our challenges in life, learning from them, and then being able to use our experience to help other people. Because I think the reality is there's still so many people who choose to stay silent during their struggles. And there is something very healing about knowing that you have a voice and that you are allowed to speak and share, and all the beautiful things that can come, working through those challenging moments in life, no matter what it is, a relationship ending, the passing away of a pet, something in society happening, and all of those situations. I think the underlining message is just love and kindness and strength through vulnerability. And I love it. I love all of it.
I love the sound of it.
Yes.
So what's one piece of career advice you would give to today's young professional or recent college graduate to help them launch their career?
Find your circle of people. And this can consist of, again, for me, it was a college professor that I stayed connected with. It was other therapists who, again, I was a new therapist, and I found seasoned therapists that I could just sit down and pick their brain. Just, continuing trainings, being open to all those things that are available. I think that's the main thing, is just use your resources. There are a lot of people out there who are so willing to help guide, that find those people and just pick their brains as much as you can.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great piece of advice. So what's the best way for our audience to contact you, Vicki?
Either through email or text message, or call me. Can I share my email and number?
Sure.
Yeah. So my number is 610-905-2153. And my email is alerciav@yahoo.com. Those are probably the two best methods to reach out to me. And I'm more than excited to just help out in any way that I can.
Okay. So if someone, if there are any young students out there contemplating a career in mental health, would you be willing to speak with them and
Absolutely.
answer any questions? Okay, wonderful.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I will keep that in mind for my
Thank
clients.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, Vicki. I really appreciate it. To my audience, tune in for the next episode of the Young Professionals Career Catalyst on Tuesday, June 11th at 8:30 a.m.